WAAY 31 News at 4 starts now.
The hurricane season gets an early start. A storm in the Gulf of Mexico about to drench Florida, and the fallout is being felt across the southeast. A mass stabbing and cutting rampage in Huntsville. Tonight, we're learning more about the suspect and the ongoing investigation. And WAAY 31 News on top of two major developments in Casey White's capital murder case. Good afternoon. I'm Nikel Williams. Dan and Marie have the day off. WAAY 31 News, the first to report that Casey White's trial is being pushed back, and his attorneys want that trial moved out of Lauderdale County. Here's WAAY 31's Megan Reyna with our top story.
Well, this morning, a Lauderdale County judge granted White's motion to delay his capital murder trial. It will now be held December 12th. It remains to be seen if that trial will remain in Lauderdale County. White's defense lawyers filed their motion for a change of venue. They blame all the publicity surrounding White's escape from the Lauderdale County Detention Center and his 11 days on the run with the jailer who sprung him. The motion argues White's rights to a fair trial by an impartial jury is affected since all of the media coverage, as well as a Facebook group that followed the escapee's run from the law, it now has more than 50,000 members. Today's court filing says, quote, "It's obvious Lauderdale County has been overwhelmed with prejudice toward White that cannot be cured without moving the trial." Megan Reyna, WAAY 31 News.
The judge has not yet ruled on the request to move the trial to another county. New information on a man accused of a stabbing attack in North Huntsville. It sent 4 people to the hospital. We dug into Dexter Holton's criminal history. We learned it's not his first arrest for a violent crime. WAAY 31's Matt Kroschel with the story now you'll only see here.
My review of those newly filed court documents showed Dexter Houghton used a machete-type knife in Wednesday's violent attack. In this exclusive surveillance video, you can see one of those victims running to get help at a Navajo gas station before getting inside and collapsing. We've now learned that Houghton is from Montgomery, where he was convicted and spent time in prison for using a handgun while robbing an Amco store. Still not clear if he had any ties to Huntsville. Police are still looking into that right now, and police still have not been able to determine a motive, and they believe that there might be a possible acquaintance to one of these victims. It was while serving a 5-year sentence that Houghton wrote his own motion to modify his sentence so that he could qualify for community corrections. It was in that 2016 motion we obtained where he wrote he was no longer a serious threat to society nor anyone in society, that he was a, quote, totally rehabilitated man in every aspect of human nature, and that his positive reform is permanent. He ended his handwritten motion to the court saying, quote, "I will no longer risk losing my freedom again, no matter what I must preserve from this day forward," end quote. Now Houghton is about to go before another judge. June 22nd, that preliminary hearing. I'm Matt Kroschel, WAAY 31 News.
Huntsville police say they are still working to figure out a motive, as you heard Matt mention, and trying to figure out whether Houghton has ties to Huntsville. New developments in the brazen theft of an ATM from a Huntsville credit union. Huntsville police released 3 new surveillance pictures this afternoon. Those pictures show a man in a dark outfit with a hood. He can be seen walking in the parking lot not far from a couple of U-Haul trailers. Police say the thieves used a stolen forklift to rip the ATM from Family Security Credit Union. That's on Highway 72. That ATM has not been found. Police are still working to identify the thieves. If you know anything about this ATM theft, call Huntsville Police. A search is on now for a Jackson man who escaped from the State Department of Corrections. Johnny Payne was last seen yesterday in his brown prison uniform at the community-based center. It's in Elba. Payne is 4 years into a 20-year sentence for receiving stolen property. A federal grand jury indicted a convicted sex offender from Owens Crossroads. According to the FBI, Kevin Guerrero Beltran is facing 4 child sexual exploitation charges. According to the indictment, Guerrero Beltran was previously convicted in the circuit court for Marshall County for traveling to meet a child for sex. Well, tropical weather in the Gulf of Mexico is impacting hundreds of flights now. The flight tracking service Flight Aware recorded more than 500 cancellations today. A tropical storm system is dumping heavy rain on Florida, posing a threat of some flooding there. It prompted airlines to cancel many of the flights into and out of Key West International Airport. Friday's cancellations follow the more than 1,600 flights disrupted on Thursday.
I want to get you an update on what is happening in the tropics. We still don't have a tropical storm. This is still potential tropical cyclone 1. You can see that center of low pressure just over the Gulf, and then all of the convection still displaced to the east thanks to wind shear. At last check, 40-mile-per-hour maximum sustained wind. And as you look at the forecast track here from the National Hurricane Center, we still expect this to become Tropical Storm Alex before this moves onshore in South Florida. Regardless, it is, as you were hearing, going to bring a lot of rain to South Florida, and we expect the center of circulation here to move onshore just south of Fort Myers Saturday afternoon as a very weak tropical storm. So that's an update on the tropics. Let's talk about what's happening here in North Alabama. We had a cold front come through. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network showing a pretty quiet picture for us. You know, I've been watching areas just farther to the south. There has been some lingering shower activity in central Alabama, but not much for us this far north. So if you got some plans this evening, maybe you're standing by the grill, it's great weather to just be out on the patio, go for a walk. 78 degrees by 7 o'clock. We are cooling into the upper 60s by 10 under a mostly clear sky. An absolutely beautiful start to the day tomorrow, but look at the temperatures. They are really climbing steadily in the coming days. We're bringing back the rain chances in our forecast as well when the showers and storms become a little more widespread. It's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Kate, thanks. All eyes on the Gulf of Mexico and the potential development of the Atlantic's first named storm of the season. The Weather Channel's Paul Goodlow shows us the impact the storm is having now on Florida beaches.
Welcome to Miami Beach, Florida. Not your typical Friday in June. There's barely a soul on the beach that's not working, perhaps dealing with bringing you weather on TV. It's all because of potential tropical cyclone 1, which is still about a day or so away from moving across Florida. But South Florida, Miami is not going to see the center of this system. We're going to see the weather on the east side and south side of the system, which is this. More persistent and constant rain for the year. Miami is closing in at 5 inches above average for the year in terms of rainfall. We could see 4 to 8 inches of rain from this event. So flash flooding is the ongoing concern here. Not so much the wind with whatever this thing is or isn't, it's the weather. So as we always focus on, it's the impacts, not that center, not the name, it's the weather impacts, which could be life-threatening with that much rain in a very short amount of time. This Friday is deserted, but Sunday we should have the sun return, not a whole washout of your weekend across South Florida. For the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Paul Goodlow.
Paul, thanks. This tropical development in the Gulf won't have a direct impact on Alabama beaches, but rescuers there are prepared in case people find themselves in distress while in the water. This is video the city of Gulf Shores posted showing Aaliyah and Gulf Shores fire and rescue training. You can see they're using a helicopter to get into the water there. These first responders answered 7 calls for help and rescued 16 distressed swimmers over the Memorial Day weekend. A protester planning to fight back in court coming up at 4:30. One woman suing over injuries she suffered at a George Floyd rally in Huntsville. We dig through the lawsuit's allegations. And next, celebrating overcoming cancer. How survivors marked a milestone here in Huntsville.
Well, the sunshine is back. The heat is trying to creep back in, but I can tell you it's going to be a really nice start to your Saturday tomorrow morning. I'm tracking how cool it's going to be when you wake up.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna, and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
I'll do it for celebrating lives. Clearview Cancer Institute held its Survivors Day, a drive-through event for cancer survivors to celebrate the other side of their cancer journey. Hundreds of people driving through, honking, waving, and smiling, and just happy to be cancer-free. Whether people have been cancer-free for months or years, their journey was celebrated with a drive-through event at the hospital they were once treated at.
Brings back the connectness that we lost a little bit during the pandemic. You know, we're able to now see each other's face again, which is making us all feel a little bit more connected than what we were. But also just to listen to them and listen to about how many years of survivor they are and what all they've been through.
On WAAY 31 News at 5 and 6, we'll hear from 3 cancer survivors as they talk through their journey and what brought them here today. Well, COVID cases appear to be increasing steadily across North Alabama. We reviewed the new numbers from the state today. 8 of the 10 North Alabama counties now have a positivity rate in double digits. Limestone County is the highest at 20%. Statewide, the positivity rate is almost 16%. WAAY 31's Chris Tatum shows us what's driving COVID cases.
New COVID-19 cases are down in the Northeast, but still rising in more than half of states as several offshoots of the Omicron variant now spread across the country. And recent research shows that may keep case levels high through summer.
Coronaviruses historically do not give lasting immunity. And that's the reason why with the common cold coronaviruses, we can get infected maybe a couple times a year.
That research is yet to be peer-reviewed or published in a medical journal, but researchers who tested antibodies from the blood of vaccinated and boosted people and antibodies from those who had recovered from a breakthrough COVID case found 2 of the latest offshoots are more likely to lead to breakthrough infections. Dr. Anthony Fauci says a new kind of vaccine is now needed.
On a vaccine that if you administer it in a nasal or oral way, it will give you enough upper airway protection that not only will you prevent infection, you'll prevent transmission. And that's the major full court press that we're putting on now in the scientific community.
Fauci says current vaccines and boosters still provide good protection from COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths. 2/3 of the population are fully vaccinated right now with at least their initial series. But the CDC says less than 1/3 have gotten their booster shots.
That was Chris Tatum reporting. A possible new case of monkeypox is under investigation in the U.S. This latest case showed up in Philadelphia. Officials there are trying to determine how that person may have been exposed and if he exposed anyone else. Well, they're investigating now in 21 other states across the country. Florida and Georgia are the closest states to Alabama reporting monkeypox cases.
Weather coverage you can count on with Alabama's weather anchor of the year, WAAY 31's chief meteorologist Kate McKenna.
We have still seen a fair amount of cloud cover on this Friday, but slowly and surely the clouds have been breaking up and we've been left with a fair amount of blue sky and sunshine, particularly farther west where we started to clear a little bit earlier in the day. It's also where we're warmer. We're at 84 degrees in Muscle Shoals. Look all across the WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network though, and you'll still see a decent amount of cloud cover in spots like Huntsville and in Guntersville. 78 right now in Guntersville, 82 in Huntsville and Decatur. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network showing a quiet picture for us here in North Alabama. Yes, still some spotty showers outside of our area. They are not heading our direction, and instead we're kind of on the up and up when it comes to looking at better weather as we go through at least the first part of the weekend. Even through Sunday with the storm chance in our forecast, it's looking pretty good. Tonight, I've been telling you it's going to get cooler. This is what I mean. 60 degrees is your forecast low. Wind out of the north-northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. So it's going to feel really nice when you wake up tomorrow morning because that north-northeasterly wind is pulling in some drier air, lowering the humidity and making it feel really nice out there. You can probably already tell a difference this afternoon as we head into this evening and the way the air feels. As we go through the rest of this afternoon, this data source is still trying to pick up on that spotty shower chance I told you. It's not in our forecast. As we go through tonight into tomorrow morning, here 7 a.m., waking up to a mostly sunny sky. Aside from some thin high clouds, we're going to keep the sunshine tomorrow. It's still mostly clear tomorrow night into Sunday morning, but by Sunday afternoon, we've got isolated showers and storms popping back up. But tomorrow looks like this. We warm pretty quickly. We're at 81 degrees by noon, 83 by 3 o'clock, and then we're dropping back down to 80 degrees by 7. All in all, it's going to be fabulous weather to sit poolside. Not too hot, not too uncomfortable. 87 degrees is your forecast high, calling it sunny and warm. But with all that in mind, you absolutely have to have sunscreen on if you're outside for, let's say, over 15 minutes. That's all it takes for a sunburn to develop on a day like tomorrow. As we look ahead to next week, there's showers and storms back in our forecast. We start with kind of an isolated chance, as I was telling you, for Sunday and for Monday. But by Tuesday, we've got this approaching front that pretty much stalls out very close to North Alabama. So we keep this active picture here Tuesday night into Wednesday into Thursday. Right now, I've got rain chances higher on those days. We may need to bring them up even more than what we're looking at for the 7-day forecast, but just keep in mind that we're looking a little stormier for Tuesday and Wednesday. Even with that said, temperatures are going to be close to 90 degrees. So although shower and storm coverage is greater during the afternoon, it's still not impossible to have overnight showers and storms with that stalled out front. All of that to say, enjoy the beautiful weekend weather while we've got it. 87 on Saturday, remember 88 on Sunday. Morning low slowly creeping back up into the mid-60s Sunday morning, 67 Monday morning, and then our typical muggy starts to the day next week with hot afternoons.
All right, Kate, thanks. Blue Origin is getting ready to launch its next space tourist mission this weekend. The company says its new Shepard rocket will launch around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. The launch was delayed last month because of an issue with the backup system. 6 people will go into orbit, including the first Mexican-born woman to reach space. Well, fears of a slowdown hang heavy over the economy. The new jobs report and what it may predict for you and your wallet. Stocks fell on Wall Street as markets consider the downside of the still strong U.S. jobs market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 348 points to close at 32,900. The Nasdaq Composite Index also fell more than 300 points. The S&P 500 ended the day 68 points lower. Wall Street seems to be worried now about the pressures of high inflation and rising interest rates. But as Faith Abube tells us, that's not stopping employers from adding workers.
A balancing act for President Biden today after a better-than-expected May jobs report despite record inflation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reporting 390,000 new jobs were created last month, leaving unemployment at a steady 3.6%, a pandemic low.
The job market is the strongest it's been since just after World War II.
The president crediting his economic plan and the rollout of a vaccination program for the jobs growth. But while the employment numbers are good, the state of the economy is complicated, with record high inflation driving up consumer prices and eating into Americans' incomes.
I know that even with today's good news, a lot of Americans remain anxious, and I understand the feeling.
Gas prices among the major concerns. According to AAA, 8 states from Arizona to California are seeing an average of more than $5 a gallon.
Essentially every hour, the national average is setting a new record.
In parts of Los Angeles, some drivers are paying more than $8 for a gallon of regular gas. Business owners forced to make tough decisions.
Well, once gas got to be above $4 a gallon, we went to a $1 delivery charge. Now that we're at 5, we have to go to 2.
President Biden once again blaming the high food and gas costs on Russia's war in Ukraine. To ease some of the burden on American families, the president urging Congress to pass his clean energy proposal.
One way we can make things a little better for families is by helping them save on other basic items their family needs on a monthly basis.
And the president also says OPEC announcing plans to boost oil supplies by 50% more in July and August is positive news. But an analyst at Gas Buddy tells ABC News he's skeptical because the oil cartel has repeatedly overpromised and underdelivered. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
Faith, thanks. North Alabama's Tabaki plant needs to fill several positions, and it's hosting a job fair this weekend to find some new candidates. It's from 8 to 11 this Saturday morning at the Tabaki plant. It's on Sanderford Road in Athens. The plant makes car seats for Mazda and Toyota. Managers plan to interview people right there on the spot. They recommend you wear jeans and closed-toed shoes to that job fair. And by the way, pay starts at more than $17 an hour with raises every 6 months. More baby formula will be arriving in the U.S. from overseas. The Food and Drug Administration gave its approval to bring in more than 1 million cans from Mexico. The imports will begin arriving next month. The FDA expects that this supply will be sold on Gerber's website and through key retailers. The government and formula manufacturers are working to increase supply with other shipments coming from Europe. An audit by the Office of the Inspector General has been launched into the FDA's handling of the shortage. The office says they want to know if regulators followed inspection and recall procedures once deadly bacteria was discovered at the Abbott plant. A desperate killer on the run, the violent end for one family following his dramatic escape as he tried to elude recapture. Next, Huntsville facing a lawsuit over police action at a protest over George Floyd's death. The allegations being laid out by one Huntsville woman.
Not a bad place to be on a day like today. This view over Lake Guntersville showing still some lingering cloud cover. I am tracking when we've got more sunshine than cloud cover, and just how nice it is by tomorrow morning. It's coming up.
You're watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News at 4:30 starts now.
College students gunned down at a church. The new revelations about the ambush attack amid a wave of gun violence in the U.S. A Huntsville woman wounded during a protest over the death of George Floyd found a lawsuit against the city, the Madison County Sheriff, and a rubber bullet manufacturer. Good afternoon, I'm Nikel Williams. This lawsuit comes on the 2-year anniversary of that protest. WAAY 31's Olivia Schuler digs into the allegations laid out in the lawsuit 2 years after that controversial ending to the downtown protest.
It was 2 years ago today that protesters gathered here to show their outrage for police actions in Minnesota following George Floyd's death. Police at nightfall trying to disperse the crowds. April Grubb was one of the people at the rally. She said she complied with the officers' orders to disperse, walking backwards away from the protest while recording the events on Facebook Live. That's when she was hit with rubber bullets. Her lawsuit says she was hit 6 times in the legs and abdomen. Her lawsuit says she was never more than 25 feet away from the nearest lawman firing the rubber bullets. Now her lawsuit alleges excessive force, negligence, assault and battery, and emotional distress. Her lawsuit asks for compensatory and punitive damages in excess of jurisdictional limits. Olivia Schuler, WAAY 31 News.
Olivia, thanks. Huntsville officials released this statement. It says the city of Huntsville has not been formally served with a copy of a lawsuit. As it's its usual practice, the city does not comment on pending litigation. Instead, the city will respond appropriately within the confines of the court system. Kate?
We've been seeing a little more sunshine than cloud cover finally on this Friday afternoon. This is the view currently looking from Calhoun Community College across to the Space and Rocket Center. 82 degrees currently at the airport in Huntsville. It's shaping up to be a really nice Friday afternoon and evening across the area. WAAY 31 storm tracker early warning radar network showing a mainly quiet picture now after seeing some showers and storms yesterday ahead of a cold front. Now we're feeling the effects of that cold front as drier, more comfortable air starts to move in. It's not exactly cool, at least not yet. We're at 82 degrees right now in Huntsville, so it is a nice warm day. Same thing goes in Decatur, 82 degrees, 79 in Fayetteville, 75 in Guntersville, and out in the Shoals, we're at 84 degrees in Muscle Shoals. So waking up tomorrow morning, this is when you're going to start to think that maybe it is a little bit cooler if you step out the door. With lower humidity, it's going to really feel like 62 degrees. I got our forecast lows at the 60-degree mark. We're already back up into the lower 70s, though, by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm tracking what's in store throughout the weekend, how these temperatures start climbing, and how the rain chances start climbing. That's all coming up.
We want to remind you to take a moment and download our WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. It'll alert you of any watches and warnings for your neighborhood. And best of all, it's a free download. A teenager is in custody and charges are pending over a domestic-related shooting in Madison County. This is a look at Thursday night's crime scene. It's on Bell Circle near Jordan Road. Deputies arrested the 17-year-old for shooting a family member. No word yet on the victim's name or condition. Domestic violence blamed now for a deadly shooting at an Iowa church that we first told you about on WAAY 31 News at 10. 2 Iowa State University students in their 20s were gunned down last night. It happened as they arrived for a college church ministry program. One of them had just broken up with the gunman, who then turned around and killed himself.
This was a situation that could have unfolded much more tragically had this just been a random act of violence. There was over 80 students in the auditorium at Bible study, and if he'd have found his way inside the church with that intent, it would have been much more tragic than what we have today.
The sheriff says the gunman bought his ammunition just an hour before the church parking lot ambush attack. Texas police officers fatally shot an escapee they believe killed a family of 5. Here's Morgan Norwood with the violent end for a man who eluded authorities for weeks.
The dramatic weeks-long manhunt for a convicted murderer on the run coming to a violent end. Gonzalo Lopez, who had escaped from a prison bus after stabbing the driver last month, shot and killed by law enforcement overnight after police say he gunned down a family of 5 in their weekend cabin and stole their truck in Centerville, Texas. Authorities in Atascosa County, just 220 miles southwest of the cabin, spotted the stolen pickup truck from an alert sent out hours earlier.
At that time, they trailed Gonzalo, and then ultimately the tires were spiked on that vehicle. After a short chase and a crash, Gonzalo Lopez exited the Chevy Silverado with a firearm and engaged law enforcement officers who engaged back and ultimately killed Lopez.
The search for Lopez intensifying on Thursday after someone called police for a welfare check on an elderly relative at a rural cabin. Inside the home, authorities finding the bodies of a family of 5, including 4 children.
So right there tells you just exactly how dangerous he is. He was in prison for murder, so he's serving a life sentence already. So he didn't want to go back to prison, obviously, and we knew what kind of person he was and what kind of action he probably was going to take.
Authorities say it's unclear whether Lopez had been staying in the family's cabin or had ambushed them upon their arrival. A Houston area school district releasing a statement saying the children were students in their community. Tombo ISD saying, quote, "The loss of a student for any reason is heartbreaking, but for it in such a tragic way is excruciating."
And officials in Texas say they're conducting a serious review of how Lopez was able to breach their security protocols. I'm Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Such senseless violence, Morgan, thanks. A dispatcher in New York is off the job now, fired for hanging up on a grocery store employee's 911 call during that grocery store massacre. A manager at the Tops grocery store had called to report shots being fired. The dispatcher yelled at her and hung up after questioning her about why she had to whisper. 10 people were killed in that May 14th shooting. 3 more elementary students are being laid to rest today after that mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Rena Roy shows us how the push for stricter gun controls is now playing out across the nation.
Calls for gun control are growing louder across the country following 233 mass shootings this year so far.
Keep our schools safe!
Students staging a walkout in Maryland.
It's going to be a continued occurrence unless we make an effort to change that.
In Milwaukee, people rallying. National Gun Violence Awareness Day taking center stage as the country copes with consecutive mass shootings in Buffalo, Uvalde, and Tulsa.
I am angry that we keep having to hold these gun violence awareness days because not enough people will recognize the public health crisis that gun violence has become.
In a primetime address Thursday night, the president also urging Congress to act, calling for more gun restrictions, including red flag laws and the banning of assault weapons.
I respect the culture and the tradition and the concerns of lawful gun owners. At the same time, the Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not absolute.
Bipartisan talks continue on Capitol Hill on new gun proposals, though many Republicans oppose restricting access to guns.
I think red flag laws leaves an interpretation to a court that may not be friendly to the Second Amendment.
Meanwhile, some states are tackling guns on their own, like New York, where the governor is set to sign a sweeping package of new laws which will criminalize the threat of attacks, require licenses to purchase assault rifles, and raise the minimum age to 21 to buy one.
What we want to do is disrupt a culture that has created a horrific and scary present and future.
A young student who survived the Uvalde massacre by playing dead in her classroom will testify before the House Oversight Committee, along with victims' families and gun control advocates, as the House takes up a vote on gun control measures approved by the Judiciary Committee this week. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Rena, thanks. A federal grand jury indicted a former Trump White House advisor. Peter Navarro was indicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress. It's over his failure to comply with a subpoena issued by the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot. Well, next, celebrating the Queen of England's 70 years on the throne. Plus, a trip down the Alabama back roads for an Alabama original adorning barns all over the state.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, Chief Meteorologist Kate McKenna, and the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
Country music superstars Alabama canceled 2 concerts this weekend over the death of Randy Owens' mother. The band posted about the lead singer's loss on social media. They tweeted that Martha Owen left for heaven and that they rejoice knowing she's now walking in very high cotton. Alabama postponed concerts set for today and tomorrow in Virginia and North Carolina until December. Another country superstar will perform the first ever concert at Birmingham's new downtown football stadium. Garth Brooks' show in Birmingham is sold out for tomorrow. It'll be the first time Protective Stadium has hosted a live concert since opening last October. Right now, the stadium is the home of the USFL. Well, the world is watching a once-in-a-lifetime event in England. This is the second day of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Inez de la Catera is in London now with a look at the celebrations and why the Queen is not part of them today.
This morning, thousands lining the streets outside St. Paul's Cathedral, hoping to catch a glimpse of the royal family gathering for the Platinum Jubilee's service of Thanksgiving in honor of Queen Elizabeth. Unfortunately, the event going on without the 96-year-old monarch. The palace says while the Queen did enjoy yesterday's Trooping of the Color and flyover, she was in what they called some discomfort after spending so much time on her feet. She decided to watch today's service of Thanksgiving on television at home in Windsor Castle.
Bless her. So she does need her rest. It was a big day yesterday. It's a disappointment, yes, but we think it's more important that she keeps well.
The Queen's grandson Prince Harry and his wife Meghan making their first formal appearance in the UK since stepping back from their senior royal duties 2 years ago. Inside the cathedral, her son and heir Prince Charles among those joining in hymns and prayer, a show of unity for the Queen marking her unprecedented 70 years on the throne. The invited guests included senior members of government, diplomats, and more than 400 essential workers, volunteers, and members of the armed forces. Last night, Queen Elizabeth participated with Prince William in the beacon light ceremony. As they lit the primary beacon, it then set off a chain of beacons shining bright throughout the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. The Queen's son, Prince Andrew, also missed today's service after testing positive for COVID-19. The Platinum Jubilee celebrations continue over the weekend with horse racing, a pageant, concerts, and thousands of parties. Inez de la Catera, ABC News, London.
Inez, thanks. A special celebration is set in Huntsville for one World War II veteran. Sherwin Callender turns 102 tomorrow. We told you earlier this week that he's asking for 102 birthday cards for his big day. Well, his family tells us that they're planning a birthday celebration for him tomorrow at the Tutt Fan Home in Huntsville, where he can celebrate with his close loved ones. We've got lots of farmers in North Alabama, right? And those farmers have lots of barns. Most sit bland and undecorated. On tonight's Alabama Original, Luke Hydash shows us what one North Alabama man is doing to try and change that.
Dale Robinson's car isn't parked in his garage.
Just basically trace it off.
Instead,
I've got some somewhere.
That garage is a workshop.
This is the screws that we use.
A workshop that makes these.
There's any number of patterns.
Dale's garage is the start of the journey for each and every Alabama barn quilt square. Large squares, just like on your quilts at home, hugging barns all across the state.
It's unusual, you know, they're becoming more and more popular, but it's just an unusual thing. Most of the old barns, they don't have anything on them, and it's just a decoration, you know. It doesn't fade in the sunlight.
Dale is the president of the Alabama Barn Quilt Trail. He's the man responsible for drawing the designs that go onto these squares. Everything from diamonds to dogs.
It was designed to bring people in. We really are trying to promote North Alabama, the farmers, get people out into the countryside to see the beautiful countryside.
Right now, there's about 125 squares that pepper barns all across Alabama. Most are in North Alabama, nearby to Florence, which is where the trail got its start. And if you play your cards right,
you can see close to 100 blocks in one day.
Just follow this map. Each of the 50 states has a barn trail. Alabama's, though, is one of the bigger ones, and Dale is always looking for new additions.
That's the whole purpose, is to get people to come out and see them.
The only requirement is that the barn must be visible from the road, because after all,
it's like a treasure hunt.
A treasure hunt for the eyes. With an Alabama Original in Florence, I'm Luke Hydash, WAAY 31 News.
The Barn Trail is always looking for volunteers, and you can help paint the squares, design them, or search for barns that would be a good fit for the trail. To get in touch with Dale to volunteer and see this and all of Luke's past Alabama originals, just head to WAAYTV.com or the WAAY 31 News app. Just click on the Features tab.
Weather coverage you can count on with Alabama's weather anchor of the year, WAAY 31's chief meteorologist, Kate McKenna.
We are back to a sunny sky across most of North Alabama now, reporting that clear sky in Muscle Shoals. We're at 84 degrees, one of the warmer spots. We've got a calm wind. It was a little bit breezy when I was out and about earlier this afternoon, but in Decatur, you will see that wind is a little bit stronger. So we're gusting to 18 miles per hour. And notice the wind direction out of the north-northwest, continuing to pull in that cooler, drier air, although it's not exactly cooler at 82 degrees, also reporting a clear sky. And you're able to see lots of blue sky and sunshine there on the WAAY 31 Thompson Roofing and Construction Skycam network. In Huntsville, it's more of the same, gusting to 22 miles per hour. Also 82 degrees. And as we go through tonight, all of us will be cooling into at least the lower 60s. The WAAY 31 Storm Tracker early warning radar network showing a nice calm picture all across the area. I don't have any rain in your forecast tonight, nor do I have any rain in your forecast tomorrow or really Sunday for that matter. So as we go through this evening, perfect weather to stand by the grill. 78 degrees by 7 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, we're dropping to 71. I would call it pretty pleasant for this time of year. And really, it's not just pleasant because of the lower temperatures, it's pleasant because of the lower humidity. And we'll be cooling down, I told you, into the 60s. 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, 62 degrees with that clear sky. Don't be a bit surprised if we get right at the 60-degree mark. In fact, that is the forecast low that I have for you tonight. As we go through the rest of this afternoon, into this evening, through tonight, now tomorrow morning, we'll stop you here at 7 a.m. We are starting with sunshine. We keep the sunshine mostly sunny throughout the afternoon, just a few passing clouds here and there, and no chance for an afternoon pop-up storm. Kind of rinse and repeat on Sunday, but the temperatures are going to be just a touch hotter Sunday. I know that this data source is trying to show you maybe a stray shower Sunday morning. I do not have that in your forecast. And instead, tomorrow looks like this, mostly sunny and warm. 87 degrees is our forecast high. Very typical for us this time of year with the temperatures, but the one thing that is different, the fact that we've got that drier, more comfortable air still in place. The wind will have not shifted yesterday or tomorrow. Wind out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, as nice as it's going to be tomorrow and Sunday, Monday, things are starting to shift for us a little bit. We start to bring back that shower and storm chance. If you're trying to get your car washed this weekend, you'll get your money's worth for the next couple of days. But next week, we pick right back up with that more active pattern, especially Tuesday into Wednesday. So I'm starting you here Tuesday afternoon, isolated to scattered showers and storms during the afternoon hours. But look at all of the activity that we've got Wednesday into Thursday. There's this front approaching and it stalls out nearby. So it's going to be keeping us pretty active as we go through the middle of next week. And a few of those storms can be on the stronger side Wednesday. But look at the temperatures and look at how we go down to 86 degrees by next Friday. In between, we're at the 90-degree mark Tuesday, just above that on Wednesday. All the more reason to enjoy this nice weather that we've got this weekend coming up.
Kate, thanks. But next, an important warning about your money. The new government report on crypto scams, plus a look at some ways to maximize your savings. A new federal warning tonight about an increase in cryptocurrency scams. The Federal Trade Commission says since the start of 2021, nearly 50,000 people reported being scammed. They lost more than $1 billion in crypto to the scammers. The report found people between the ages of 20 to 49 were most likely to be scammed. It's important to remember that crypto transfers cannot be reversed. Once the money's gone, there is no getting it back. Gas prices are high and going higher now. So is the cost for food. But interest rates for traditional savings accounts remain low. Rena Roy talks to one expert about the best use for your savings.
Inflation is sky high right now. And if you have your money parked in a traditional savings account earning, let's be honest, nothing %, the fact is you are losing money.
CNET Money's Farnoosh Tarabi says the value of how far your dollar can stretch is diminishing as it sits in that plain vanilla savings account.
If you had $1 in a bank account last year and you saved it, and now with inflation hovering over 8%, that dollar is actually worth closer to 92 2 cents.
Typically, when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, savings rates also increase.
So while we have seen mortgages, personal loans, credit cards increase as far as APR and interest rates, we haven't seen the same sort of upward movement in the savings landscape.
Tarabi has a few tips on how you can make the most of your savings right now. Number 1, compare interest rates at digital banks.
There are a lot of digital competitors right now vying for our savings dollars, and many of them do offer better than average savings rates.
Tip number 2, look for sign-up bonuses.
If you're a new customer, they may offer you a welcome sign-on bonus, giving you an immediate boost to your savings account.
Tip number 3, if you don't need your savings right away, consider I-bonds.
So I-bonds are government-backed securities. They adjust twice a year to mimic where inflation is. And right now, I-bonds are earning well over 9%.
When deciding if I-bonds are right for you, keep in mind you can't touch that money for a minimum of 1 year. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Great advice, Rena. Thanks. Coming up next on WAAY 31 News at 5, a WAAY 31 viewer calls us with some concerns about fundraising for a zoo in Limestone County. We sent Matt Kroschel for answers. See the exclusive report next at 5.